This week is back to school time. Joining us for key things to keep in mind to keep children safe and healthy is Trauma Outreach Coordinator Tracy Dethlefs-Rademacher of CHI Health, Good Samaritan Hospital of Kearney. Tracy, for students going to school, we all need to be aware. What do you think we should keep in mind when students are either driving or walking to school?
First off, with it being back to school time of year, I think we all just need to use a little extra alertness and caution. I just think those kids are excited when they're back with their friends and doing things that they haven't done for a while, so we need to pay extra attention. And then for parents, try practicing a safe route to school, and that might mean finding a street with less traffic or seeing if there's a place that your kids can cross the street with like a stop sign or a stop light to stop that through traffic. And then make sure those kids understand how to check for traffic. Are they looking left and right? Do they understand how to wait and pause? Because those cars might not stop for them. Another thing we could do, us as adults, is just use extra caution around those school zones. Remember to slow down and look for that reduced speed in those areas. And then with this one, we should all be wearing seatbelts. It doesn't matter if you're going 2 blocks or 2 miles to drop your kids off for school. Make sure that you're wearing a seatbelt every single time, everywhere you go.
When we see a school bus picking up or dropping off students, Tracy, how can we be alert?
I think avoiding distractions is a big thing here. So making sure that we don't allow those phones to distract us from paying attention to what's going on ahead. If you've got teen drivers, make sure that around a school bus stop that the kids are looking for that cross arm to come out. If they see yellow flashing lights on a bus, that means they're going to slow down. And if you do see that cross arm out, that means traffic is stopped in both directions, unless you have a lane divider, which most of our small rural areas don't. So really making sure that we're paying attention to those things. And for kids that are getting on the bus, teach them to stay back until the bus comes to a full stop and that door comes open. We don't want any accidental bumps or anything happening that can push those kids out in front of the school bus.
Keeping children healthy is key all school year, not just during those flu months of winter. Tracy, are there some reminders for avoiding illness, also getting enough sleep as we transition out of summer vacation?
Hopefully parents have started this transition over the last few weeks, but we need to make sure that bedtimes got moved up a little earlier. Us as adults are needing about 8 hours of sleep, and that means our kids are needing more. So you're looking at 9 to 12 hours really for school-age kids. Before bedtime, try to get that screen time turned off and get into some kind of healthy routine or structure. And that could mean your meal time, bath time, homework times, or kind of, at a set time period, and then we're getting those kids to bed early. Also, with back to school comes the germs, and so make sure your kids understand simple hygiene things like wash your hands before you eat or after the bathroom, covering sneezes when that season hits, or if we're sneezing, sneeze into our elbows so that we're not sharing our germs with our friends. And also, kids at school, don't be sharing hair brushes, hair ties, things like that. You don't want any unwelcome guests in your house this time of year.
Tracy Dethlefs-Rademacher, Trauma Outreach Coordinator at CHI Health, Good Samaritan Hospital of Kearney, talking with us right now about the things we need to keep in mind as students return to school this week. Tracy, hopefully this next concern does not happen, but if it does, what kind of discussions should we have about emergencies?
Well, it would probably be a good idea to talk to your kids about certain things that might come up at school, like a fire drill or a weather drill like a tornado. Also, we've got active shooter drills at school that we might not have had when we were their age. So I think if you discuss those things ahead of time before they come up, it might be a little less scary. Also, kind of have a family plan for the unexpected. What if the parents or caregiver have to work or there's an emergency and they can't get the kids picked up from school? Have a backup plan of a trusted neighbor or a family member. And it might be a good idea to have a safe word, like a little code word for the family so that they know, yes, this is a safe person to travel with, that we're not setting them up for a situation that might be scary for them.
When it comes to someone we don't know approaching children, Tracy, what are the things to keep in mind with stranger danger?
I think it's really important to teach our kids to not trust a stranger. It's important to have those discussions that if someone stops them on the sidewalk and says the old scenario we would hear, hey, can you help me find my lost puppy, that kids are not wanting to go help the stranger, that they kind of set boundaries for themselves and they don't walk near a stranger's car. They don't go with a stranger that might be asking for help, that they run and tell an adult that they trust. And that could be a teacher or a trusted neighbor that they know, a police officer, but really get to a safe place. Also, we always tell our kids not to be too loud, but in those scenarios, if they feel threatened, it's okay to teach them how to yell, how to scream, get attention to themselves. Obviously, you don't want that happening in inappropriate places like school or a doctor's office. But teach those kids, talk through those scenarios just so that they kind of are aware.
On a related note, we are in a connected world. Tracy, just how important is cybersecurity, including children being approached online?
Sadly, this is something that this generation really has to be aware of. As adults, it's our responsibility to monitor our kids' activities online, but we can't be there every second. So again, this is one of those discussions that you're just making them more aware about the subject. Make sure that they understand, never give your details out to anyone, even if you think they're a good friend. Never tell them your school, your home address, your town, things like that. If they do feel like they've met a true person that's a friend online, see if you can get those kids to introduce them to you as parents and caregivers. Do a Zoom call or a FaceTime so that you're seeing who is truly speaking to your child and that it's not somebody imitating another person's ID. We also have to make sure that they never set up a meeting in person. That goes for your older kids too. We've heard a lot of tragic stories about kids that thought they knew someone online and set up a meeting place. And so we really have to set safety boundaries so that your kids know this is to protect them.
Thanks for joining us, Tracy. That's Tracy Dethlefs-Rademacher, Trauma Outreach Coordinator for CHI Health, Good Samaritan Hospital of Kearney, reminding us of things to remember with the school year starting this week. To hear this interview again and many others, you could go to our podcast page at krvn.com. I'm Paul Perkins on the Rural Radio Network.